What's good, Magic fans? Welcome. Happy New Year. And as we say in Wales, blwyddyn newydd dda to episode 15 of Orlando Magic UK's podcast, Penny for Your Thoughts. I'm joined as usual by my two friends, Mikey Clark.
Evening, Geraint. Yeah, I'm good, buddy. Thank you.
Good stuff. And Mr. Paul Bacon. How
Evening,
are you, mate?
Very well, my friend. Very well, thank you. All good here.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. And we're honoured to have joined the podcast today, TV and digital reporter for the Orlando Magic, and also a member of Fox Sports Florida, a lady we're lucky to meet before Game 3 of the Toronto series back in April 2019. And that's Mackenzie Thirkill. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh, it's cool. It's our pleasure. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We just got to run through the weekly Magic news, and as always, we start with injuries that have occurred, unfortunately. So a couple of things to note. Terrence Ross returned on Saturday from his slight injury after missing one game against the 76ers. Chuma Okeke left the game in the fourth quarter against the 76ers on the Thursday. He sustained a bone bruise to his left knee, and he could be gone for several weeks. That is the same knee that he had the torn ACL, but no damage was done to the ACL, apparently. In other news, Evan Fournier left the same game against the 76ers on the Thursday in the first quarter with back spasms. He did not return, and he didn't feature in the games against OKC on Saturday or the win against the Cavaliers on, last night now. And lastly, James Ennis, he's nearing return to court time, says his recovery is going well in respect of his calf and hamstring injury, and is eager to return once his conditioning catches up. So that is welcome news. So let's bring us on to our special guest. So, for those of you who don't know Mackenzie, could you give us a quick introduction of yourself, Mackenzie, and your job and what it entails?
Yeah, sure. So I am predominantly the digital reporter and host for the Orlando Magic. So I do what it sounds like, all the digital reporting for us. So that means Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I do a lot of those videos giving information about what's kind of going on with the team, whether it's interviews or previewing upcoming games. I also do spots for Fox Sports Florida. So I am on some of the broadcasts at times during the season. I host some of the Inside the Magic shows that we do that are on Fox Sports Florida. And really, it's just kind of being around basketball all the time. That's really my job, is just being able to enjoy the team and basketball and just talk sports all the time.
Oh, it's a fun job, and one we're all very envious of, I think.
Yeah, not a bad gig. Can't complain for sure.
Oh, true. So I got a couple of questions, if you'd be so kind. So from doing my research, I gather you've had an interest in sports from a very young age. Can you tell us about growing up, as a sports fan, and your favourite teams sort of growing up?
Yeah, so I really started to fall in love with sports when I lived in South Florida. So I know a lot of Magic fans don't appreciate this, but I actually grew up a Miami Heat fan and was like a big time Miami Heat fan. Really, all of my teams are South Florida based. So I'm a Dolphins fan, which has been up until this past year not great. I've been a Marlins fan, Panthers fan, really all of that. So it was more, I kind of started when I was like 6. My neighbors at the time were season ticket holders. My parents aren't really big like sports fans. So my neighbors were really the ones that got me into it. And I just kind of fell in love with it. I think more or less because of numbers. I love numbers. Like I really like stats, and it just made sense to me. And I think I just like the action of it all. And pretty much that's where it started, and it's never left since.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I did listen to you on the Ozone podcast from middle of last year, I think, and you did mention the Heat in that, and I thought, oh no, there we go. But you did say that if the Magic play the Heat, it's Orlando all the way. And there was one quote that really, really I liked, was that you really disliked the LA Lakers. So we've got something in common there.
Yeah, I do not like the Lakers ever since I was a kid. It's weird. It's not even so much the Lakers, it's any teams that have purple and gold as their colors. It's like a weird thing which is really odd for me to say considering I worked for Orlando City and their colors are purple and gold. And I remember when I first started working there, I was like, this goes against everything I've like hated in my entire life. And I had to get over it very quickly. So they're really my only team that I make an exception for is Orlando City.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So how did you get the job with the Magic? You just touched on you started with Orlando City. What was your journey into, journalism?
So I'll start with the first question. How did I get my job at the Magic? Oddly, it was actually David Steele. So David Steele apparently saw me doing one of my broadcasts for Orlando City. And unbeknown to me at the time, I didn't realize that they were already in the talks because they were getting ready for their 30th anniversary, which they knew was going to be like a big to-do where they were going to have a lot of content coming out where they were like, we should really bring someone in to do more of like the digital side of things. So I guess David had seen one of my broadcasts with Orlando City and then talked to my now boss and was like, hey, like there's this girl, she's at Orlando City. Like, I think she would be really, really good for us. So I just got an email about it and we just kind of started going back and forth. And then 6 months later, I started working for the Magic. So actually it was a very welcoming email to see. And it was very exciting because it's just a new sport to cover and a new challenge. And it was fun to make that transition. In terms of my journey into journalism, sports broadcasting is something I had always wanted to do ever since I was little, just because I love sports. I knew I was never good enough to be a professional athlete. So I was like, well, why not? I like talking about sports. I always enjoyed it. So it's just always kind of stayed in the back of my head. And then when I was 21, I was like, ooh, okay, if I want to do this, I need to start looking for a job. Oddly, went onto Craigslist, saw the sketchiest ad where it was like sports reporter, needs assistant, has book coming out, must be okay with cats and dogs, works from home. And I was like, this looks a little suspect. I don't know if I should apply for this. It's Craigslist. Like, who knows what could happen? I sat on it for like 2 weeks, finally sent the email. Lo and behold, it was Christy Dosh, who at the time was a business reporter for ESPN, had a book coming out. So I worked for her, worked under her for a year. Her now husband worked at the radio station in Jacksonville. So I just started like going from like one thing to the next. So it's like, was with her. And then I went to the radio station and was like, hi, I know nothing about radio. Can I come work for you for free? And they were like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, just come in like whenever you can. We'll like kind of show you the ropes. And went from that to then being on the morning show as a co-host to then working across the street with the TV station and just trying my hand at being on camera because I had never been on camera. And then it just kind of like one thing after another, just things kind of started happening.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
The boys have got questions, Paul.
Yeah, I just, as Garant said, the last time we met was the
playoffs,
game 3. If memory serves right, you interviewed us in the Disney atrium.
Yep.
The arena was absolutely full of fans. The atmosphere was loud. It was passionate. How different is it in the Amway at the moment with, what is it, about 4,000 fans?
Yeah.
The person we've spoken to has actually been in the Amway with fans.
So it's funny you asked that. I actually just walked into the arena for the first time on Saturday during the OKC game. So that was my first time being in there to see it. And it was, I don't even know if I could find the right words for it. It was sad. Like, I was don't get me wrong, so happy to be back in there. I'm so happy we have basketball, happy to have my job. Like, I'm happy fans were actually to be in attendance, but like to be there, you're like, wow, I don't even recognize this. Like, it's so completely different. Like, we as media are 3 to 4 floors away from the guys. So we're not even like close to them. Everyone's spread out. You have the sound pumped in and it's kind of one of those things, like, everyone's doing the best of their abilities. And I totally understand that, but like, you miss what it was like last season. So it's definitely different in the sense of how quiet it is.
Is there an atmosphere?
Pardon?
Is there much of an atmosphere? Is there a lot of cheering and shouting from the fans?
There's definitely still like sound, like the fans definitely, they compensate for like there being a lack of fans, which was like, I was really like happy to see that they are still like doing everything they can to make it as much of an atmosphere for the guys as possible. It's just different. And I mean, hopefully we can get back to normal, because I love game days. Like I love the sound of like fans like standing up at the beginning of the fourth quarter, everyone just being really loud when like a crazy play happens. Like that's what it's all about. It's like those like seconds of when you just feel the adrenaline in the building. Like those are the best moments. And unfortunately we can't like have that fully right now, but we do what we can. And at least we have fans, where so many of the other teams in the league have no fans.
Cool, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mikey, I think you're up next, mate.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that interview you did with us when we were inside that Disney atrium, but there's a funny story out of that, because you interviewed all three of us, and our phones started blowing up later in the middle of the game because people were posting the video of us being interviewed before the game. And Geraint got cut out in the middle of the video, so it was just me and Paul in the middle of it. So G, and I was sharing a room with G with the time we were in Orlando, and I don't think you let it go, mate, have you? Even till now.
It was cool. No, I probably had a few too many beers in the afternoon leading up to the game, so probably slurring my words.
I put it down to your Welsh accent. They couldn't understand what you were saying. But
maybe.
I mean, if you were slurring your words and it was up to me, I would have put that in the video, because I'd been like, look at our fans having a blast before this game. Like, that's what you should be doing. If I was a fan, I'd be like, yeah, let's go get some beers before this game. Like, absolutely. So if you were drunk, I don't blame you.
No, thank you.
We'd had a few by that time. So as a two-part question, pre-COVID, what's a typical game day look like for you? For those who don't know, like what a normal day's like working for the Magic.
So normal day pre-COVID. So you would have, the guys would have shoot around in the morning. So you kind of get there, they do shoot around, you walk in for the last like 5 minutes essentially. And at that point they pull Steve Clifford first. Usually he kind of will talk like, this is what we did. This is like kind of about the game, like normal coaching questions essentially about kind of like what we can expect for the evening. We start to pull players, and then you have a gap between about, I would say 11:45 to about 5. And that's usually either when people are cutting video to like put up online, or we're all just trying to prepare. You see a lot of people go home and we'll take naps. So it's like a lot of the media members have the same routine as players, where we show up for shoot around, we go home, take a nap, get ready for the game, come back to the arena. And then at 5:15, Steve Clifford talks again. And then the away coach will talk. And then by that point, after the away coach talks, then I usually would have start walking to the court to get ready for our Facebook Live pregame show. And then Facebook Live pregame show. And then that leaves about an hour before tip off. And at that point, you kind of just like start getting comfortable. You like make your rounds a little bit, depending on what else was like going on that day. If it's like a Fox Sports Florida, if I'm on Fox Sports Florida that night, it's me like going to the truck to make sure I know where I need to be, even though we already had a production meeting in the morning. And then tip off is at 7. And then after the game, post game availability, you go into the locker room and then you're done.
And and obviously since COVID, and you said you only went back into the arena on Saturday. How different was that day for you?
It was super different. So no one really goes to shoot around because we do everything via Zoom now. So you don't even like see the players to do anything. But now when you go to the arena, it's like you have to go onto the app to be like, are you sick? Have you been around anyone who has COVID? You get there, you go to a tent, they check your temperature. Like I was a mess on Saturday because I had no idea what I was doing. Also, I answered all of the questions wrong because I wasn't reading them properly and I got in trouble. So they were like, can't let you into the arena. You're sick. I was like, I'm not sick. Anyways, so we have an app that we have to go through, and then everything is separated now. So at least for media, we have like different levels in which we're allowed to be on. So if you're on the floor, you can only stay on the floor the whole entire day. like you can't go to the second floor, you can't go anywhere. So where our office is for like our communications department and like the social media side of things is on the 7th floor. So like all of our camera guys, everything's on the 7th floor, but all our camera guys that day are on the 1st floor. So there's no, like you like can go almost an entire season without like potentially seeing somebody on a game, like, cause you just don't see them on game days. So for me now, like I can only be on like the 4th to 7th floor. And it's just everyone is just separated. Our food's in boxes, like it's just different. Like it's so different.
Oh man.
Yeah.
When you one of the things I'm actually missing is the Facebook Live pre-show game. I really used to like that. The interaction between yourself and Paige, or with Jeff when he came in.
Yeah.
Is there any hopes of that sort of thing returning?
Yeah, we actually plan on bringing that back. We're still like working on the logistics because like I said, people have to be on one floor. So the people who used to shoot it are now on the 1st floor. And so we're just trying to figure out logistically where we can shoot, where it also aesthetically just like looks good and who can shoot it. But yeah, Paige and I are definitely pushing for that. So hopefully like we're doing Instagram Live right now where her and I kind of like switch off, but we're trying to get Facebook Live back for home games. So I would say hopefully within the next like few weeks that's back up and running.
Quality, because we used to share it on Orlando Magic UK's Facebook site and on Twitter and all that sort of thing. So we used to like it. So
yeah.
Hope it comes back. We really would like it.
Yeah, Paige and I definitely want it to come back because her and I, like I said, we're doing the Instagram Live, which is awesome and we love it. But her and I are so much better when we can like bounce off of each other. And so we're both like, we need each other to do this. Like, so yeah, like I said, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it'll be back up.
And talking,
what I was going to say, because you do have such a good interaction between one another.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like this, where it's for yourself and Paige, it's two mates talking about the game coming up, and that's what we have here with this. So it's something that we miss and we do like it. Hopefully it's back.
Thanks.
And you mentioned it earlier about Inside the Magic. That is one episode, that's one program we do not get access to. So we're going to make a request. Can you see if we can get it, whether it can go on YouTube or something? Because we never get to see Inside the Magic over here. It's one.
Yeah, I've actually had like inquired about that because I remember when this was 2 seasons ago, we did like the Evan Fournier show and we went to Paris to shoot it, and so many people were asking about it. So I've been like, I'm always like, hey, is there, people are asking, like people outside of Florida like want to watch this. So yeah, I always try to push that, but unfortunately I don't have that much pull with putting it on with Fox Sports Florida and the logistics and the laws and the rules and all that.
No,
but I'm trying.
Thank you for that. Yeah. I've got another one for you, if you'd be so kind. You spend a lot of time with the players. Are there any players you get along with, you know, the best? I know you had a podcast with DJ.
Say, yeah. I would say at the time DJ, just because I was able to do the podcast with him. Evan, and that I think traces back a lot to being able to do that Inside the Magic show, going to Paris and hanging out with him and like his family and like getting to know everybody. I really like Vooch. Vooch probably wouldn't say that we're like really friends because to like them, we're just like media members, but I really like Vooch because I always give him a hard time because he always has like matching tracksuits. And so every time I see him, I'm like, oh, new tracksuit, huh? Like, and I always just like appreciate that. And then I would also say Terrence, I really enjoy talking to him as well too. Those would probably be like the main guys. And AG is a good one to talk to also.
So all of them.
All of them, yeah. Like those are the guys who have like, those are like so many of the core guys. So those are the guys I just interview a lot. So because you're getting more like reps with them, you just really create more of a relationship with them because of it. Whereas like I haven't even like talked to Cole yet or Chuma. Like I haven't even like spoke to them yet. So like they probably have no idea who I like even am. So it's hard for me to like base it off anything except for the guys who I've just like had more of a long-standing relationship with.
Yeah. Oh no, that's cool. Thank you. I'll just move on to our next section where we just have a little game reviews. So since our last podcast, we played 3 games, the first of which was the 76ers on New Year's Eve. Paul's going to recap that one for us.
Yes, the first loss of the season, 116-92. Just say in sports, some nights everything's going to go wrong and you're going to get battered. This was one of those. We lost Terence before the game, as we've already said. Mo got hit in the head in practice, wasn't feeling well, so he couldn't join him. You knew it was going to be one of those nights when 4 minutes in, Ben Simmons hits a 3. Okay, this is not going to be our night. Let's just play this one out and let's go home. Soslaw Markel has a stinker. We threw so many bricks, you could have built a wall under the basket we were aiming at. Just not great. Evan limps off with the back spasms. By the end of the first half, I was quite pleased that we actually didn't overtake the Clippers for the halftime deficit record, even though we did actually manage to set our own deficit record for halftime score. It was just, I remember writing up the review and it finishing off with a section called Magic Silver Linings. And my God, was that a reach trying to actually find something. The best thing I could come up with was that we won the second half. And Vooch got his, at that point, 4th double-double of the season. Cole Anthony picked his game up in the second half, finished on 16 points, which was a career high. But again, it was just, the night was just summed up when in the fourth quarter, Dwight Howard manages to nail a 3-pointer as well. It's like, you know, if our pantomime villain is hitting 3-pointers, he's what, 10th of his career, you know full well it's time to pack up and go home and move on to the next one. And that's about it. That's you know, we could go into all the stats of it all, but you know, we all know, and we moved on.
That was a great summary. That was a better summary than I would have given. I would have been like, I just don't want to talk about it. We lost. It was last year. 2021.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's one of the things we do. We go through the wins and we're all smiling, but unfortunately, we've got to deal with the losses, which brings me on to the next game. So I'm taking this one. And this is the one I didn't want to lose because my brother is an Oklahoma City fan. So no Fournier, as you've said, no Okeke. Some highlights: Vucevic scored 30 and 13, Terence Ross 26 and 6. But when we have Fultz, Bacon, Michael Carter-Williams, and Cole Anthony shooting 10 for 45, and only ending up with 4 players in double figures, you know it's going to be a long night. Credit to Oklahoma. They're a young team, come out trying to showcase what they can do, playing with no fear. They played well, 6 players in double digits, including Baisley with 19, George Hill 18, Gilgeous Alexander with 16, and then you got Maladon, Diallo, and Horford with 12. For me, it came down to the fourth quarter. We were in the game, but the ball movement stopped. We tried to play a little bit of hero ball, and Oklahoma just passed it around, got the best shots, made them, and that's what it was. I think we missed Evan Fournier significantly, something I've been preaching for a couple of weeks, how important he is to the offense. But a little bit like the Philadelphia game, you know, Mama said there'd be days like this. So, yeah. How about you, Mackenzie? You were at that game.
Yeah, the fourth quarter is a perfect summary. I remember I was trying to take a video during the fourth quarter, and every time I would video us, we would miss the basket. And I was like, I can't put this. And then I'd be like, all right, let's try again. Next possession. Nope, same thing. I was like, all right, we'll wrap this up. But I mean, kudos to OKC. Like, they were just attacking us on defense, and they like put a lot of pressure on us throughout, because they were drawing fouls. They were bringing the defense in to then kick the ball back out. And that's like, I mean, that's what really got us at the end of the night. I do think, of course, like missing the guys we were with Evan. I agree with you. I think Evan actually contributes a lot offensively to our game. I know there's a lot of fans who would disagree with that statement because you always see the rumors where everyone's like, get rid of Evan. But I'm like, we've been winning when he's been on the court. So getting him back will hopefully be good.
Yeah, he's really shown his value by not playing, hasn't he? We're 4-0. Well, no. What are we now? 4-2.
5 and 2
No,
now.
I'm just trying to think. 5-2, yeah. So we're 1-2 without him, 4-0 with him. So,
yeah. And also, OKC is not a game you should be losing, considering, like, not to, like, hate on OKC, but they are in a rebuild year, and they're not where they were. There really isn't any reason to be losing on home court to a team like OKC, who you just beat earlier in the week. So.
Yeah, agreed. That brings us on to last night's encounter with the Cavaliers. Mr. Clark?
Yeah, first blowout win of the season. We got off to a good start, 10-0 start, and then we sort of started turning the ball over. I think we had 5 turnovers in the first and second quarter, which is really unlike us because we're first in the league in turnovers with 11.7. Aaron Gordon had a coming out party, really. He got 24 points, 11 rebounds, shot 6 for 9 from 3, which, considering he only went 3 from 20 for the first 5 games. He looked like he had his legs under him last night. Now the minutes restriction starting to come off, and he's just looking. He was getting his shots in the flow of the offense. He wasn't forcing anything. And he gave the ball. He moved the ball around when it wasn't moving. I thought he was outstanding. He really helped us last night. Vooch had another strong game. If he keeps going like this, he's gonna make the All-Star team. I know there's not going to be an All-Star game this year, but 23 points, 8 rebounds, 9 for 16 from the floor. But it's really the third quarter that kick-started the win, wasn't it? We were up by 2 at the halftime, but then Fultz come out off that Gordon screen, drove to the basket and had that big dunk straight after halftime, and that really sort of sparked us. And we went on to hit 15 threes, including Clark and Bacon. Both of them made a 3 last night. Cole Anthony looked good last night. He had that massive block on Colin Sexton. I think it was it in the fourth quarter when he went up and rejected him. And I think one of the players who's probably been not underrated, but maybe gone under the radar a little bit to start the season is Ken Burt. He had a really nice game last night, 12 points, 12 rebounds, but he's filled in well since Mo's obviously been playing to start the season. But I think he's been solid, and we saw a little bit of Vooch and Kem playing together for stretches last night. And I think it's something Clifford wanted to do. But if you think, I think he would, I'll start again. I can't talk tonight. The way he wanted to go about it last year, though, it didn't really work. Whereas I think Ken needs to be playing in the paint, and Vooch is the player that's holding out on the perimeter, so it helps with that spacing a bit more. But anyway, yeah, Magic won 103-83. Now 5-2 with the Cavs again on Wednesday.
I'm happy.
Were you at the game?
Pardon?
Were you at the game last night?
No, I wasn't. I actually stayed home last night just because I was like, am I needed? Because they're, again, like I said, they're still trying to like figure everything out. And I had a bunch of appointments I had to be at yesterday. So to get there just didn't physically make sense for it. But no, I wasn't there, which kind of then worries me because I'm like, okay, the one game I've been to, we lost. Like, what does this mean? Like, if I go back and we lose again, like, should I just like not go to the arena for the rest of the season? Like, because I am really weird about that. Like, I'll be like,
superstitious.
Super. Oh yeah. Like, there's been times where like I've worn an outfit twice and we've lost. I'm like, I can't wear that.
Well, you might not have heard this, Mackenzie, but last week when we were on the 4-game winning streak, Paul wore his first jersey that you ever bought, and you wore it 4 consecutive times, didn't you? And you were telling everybody that you'd be wearing it until we lost. Now, lucky for Paul's wife, he's probably put it in the wash now.
Thank God.
I think I sent you guys a live photo of the action happening in the laundry basket as that jersey hit the laundry basket after that OKC defeat. It needed it. It could walk there itself. It was ready to go.
It was steaming, was it?
But on the games that we've had so far, got to mention how good Cole Anthony is from the free throw line. 19.
Yeah, well, I feel like our team in general from the free throw line this season has just been absolutely spectacular, which I mean, that's a free point. Like those are free points like given to you. Like, and I think that's such a big deal. One, to be drawing the fouls to like get to the line like we have, because I know that was something that Steve Clifford really harped on the last like few seasons, like draw fouls to get to the line because you get more shots, you get more opportunities, and we've been doing a really, really good job of that. For sure.
And as you said, Michael, the other thing is Vooch. I took a little look at his stats this afternoon. They're through the ceiling. He's second in the plus minus behind Jokic. That's the only player who has a better plus minus than him. He's fifth in player efficiency. He's averaging 11 rebounds per game, which is 10th in the league. He's tied 7th with 60 field goals this season, which is, the players he's tied with are Paul George, LeBron James, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram. That's some pretty good company. And of the 775 points the Magic have scored, Vooch has 152 of them, including 5 double-doubles.
It's not very often when your offense is struggling, you think we'll give it to our center. There aren't many teams that you can do that with. And he's added that little turnaround fadeaway as well over his shoulder, which I think he hit a couple last night in the second half. But no, he's been brilliant.
He's so crucial to our offense, which is such a pro and a con in a way. It's a pro because obviously he's stellar and he's absolutely stellar for us as a center. And at the same time, when we don't have him, which we have seen in the past, when he's not available to us because our whole entire offense runs through him, it puts us not in a good position. So it's a pro and a con having a player like him in those instances. And also when you also then play other big teams that go up against him and give him a hard time, makes a difference.
You said you loved the stats there, Mackenzie. So Paul's hopefully giving you some good stats.
I like it.
I think I enjoy them. I enjoy them as well.
So just looking at what we predicted last week, because in week 1, Paul predicted 4-0. Well done. Nobody got it right this week. Mikey went 3-0. I went 2-1, as did Paul. So we went 1-2 for the week. So looking ahead now, we have 3 games before our next podcast, which we'll be recording on Sunday. We play the Cleveland Cavaliers on Wednesday. That is a midnight tip in the UK. You have to get used to this, Mackenzie. We've got to stay up until all hours on end just to watch the games.
I used to live overseas. I know, but I lived in Asia. So I was at a 12-hour difference.
Wow.
So I would like wake up to like watch games. Like it'd be like, okay, we're waking up at like 5 a.m. to watch the Super Bowl. Like, so trust me, I understand the wonky times.
Yeah, cool. Then we travel to Houston to play the Rockets on Friday the 8th. That is a 1 a.m. early Saturday morning tip. That is followed by a road game in Dallas. So that's Saturday, but that'll be 1:30 a.m. on Sunday morning for us. Paul, I'll hand it over to you to preview the Cleveland game.
Okay, so in all honesty, there's not a deal to add from what we've discussed as part of the review. Look, in our preview of the Eastern Conference on the website, we wrote, they certainly have some nice pieces. We'll battle in games and expect them to be getting another high lottery pick. And let's be fair, we saw last night that they'll battle. They're a tenacious team. But even after losing last night, the Cavs are still ranking second in the defensive ratings. They are a tenacious, stubborn team. The number of turnovers that they managed to force from us, and that's going to be the danger again, because they have got very, very active hands. The danger with them is if you allow their defense to get on top, and they can manage to start getting the offence rolling, you are in some really difficult position to actually bring a game back. Colin Sexton has come on so much. He is a very dangerous player. I know that he didn't play last night, but Darius Garland is another good player. He's averaging 17.2 points per game. And we all know how good a centre Andre Drummond is. Vooch had a really good battle with him last night. That was entertaining to watch. But then you look at some of the other pieces that they've got. Larry Nance Jr., JaVale McGee, Sadie Osman, Thon Maker, Damian Dotson. They can all contribute. They've got some dangerous players. The problem that they've got is their extensive injury. I mean, we think we've got an injury problem. Their injury list is ridiculous. Kevin Love's out long-term with a calf injury. Dylan Winder, obviously, Dante Exum limped off last night. That looked really painful. I hate to see players pull up in the way that he did there. That looked really uncomfortable. There's a possibility of some of their players returning. Dellavedova, he was out with concussion. Kevin Porter Jr. was out on a personal matter. Their number 5 draft pick, Okora, he was questionable for last night with a foot injury. So who knows? We may see him back. And as we've mentioned already, Garland, he missed last night with a shoulder strain, so he could return. For me, if we do the basics well against the Cavs, we will win. We play at our pace. We make a reasonable field goal percentage. We hit some threes. We don't foul too much. We reduce the number of turnovers that we actually suffered, and we get the defense functioning in anything like our best. Then we're gonna win. For me, and last night it was nice to see that finally, as a team, we got some blocks going, because that's been ridiculous. It's shown the whole that Jonathan Isaac's absence and Mo Bamba has left in the defence. So fingers crossed, we can get it.
Vooch had 3 blocks last night.
Yeah,
that never happens.
I think this is one that we can get. You look at it, the rebounding game is going to be so important. And at the moment, the Magic are rating 10th in the league for total rebounds. And Vooch is up there in the league as leaders on the defensive end of rebounding. He's so important for us. And I think that we can win this one. Really do.
Brilliant. We then travelled to Houston. Mikey.
Yep, Friday, 1 a.m. tip-off, so even later for us. They've started 2-3. They're coming off a 113-100 loss last night against the Mavs. And then they play Indiana on Wednesday before they see us. They had an opening night. They got their game postponed through COVID. I think they had less than 8 players available, so that game got cancelled. They lost to Denver and Portland before they beat Sacramento back-to-back. James Harden, is he going to be there by Friday or Saturday? Is he going to be there for another month? I don't know. Quickly before we go on, does anybody think he's going to get moved before the deadline?
It'd be nice if he was moved.
Play him. I think he's there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, I don't either, but it'd be nice if they did a trade on Thursday night and there'd be literally like 7 players left. That's the hope, isn't it?
I don't think he's going.
You know, he's not one of my favourite players. I don't like. I'm not a fan of him at all.
I put this out.
I'll put it bluntly. I think he's a cheat.
Okay.
He falls to the floor. He travels all the while and he falls to the floor. I'm not a fan.
So does Kyle Lowry.
Mate, the same argument goes for Kyle Lowry. I don't like him either. So let's.
That was a good pull.
Shots fired.
Yeah. That's cool.
Shots fired.
That was a great pull. I haven't heard that in a while.
But I put this out on Twitter the other day. Interestingly enough, just staying on that subject slightly, was it Brian Windhorse actually put us in rumours with James Harden as a possible team that could trade for him, which I don't see happening at all. I don't think any of us would want to see that happen, but there we go.
If it does, if it does happen, can we just edit that last bit I've said out?
We love you, James.
As I'm wearing a Harden shirt.
You know, Mackenzie said she's got her own bloopers reel. That's going in yours, Paul.
Oh God, mine's full anyway, mate.
With
all that video of me attempting a floss.
Mate, we're gonna have to post that out very soon. We're leaving people hanging on for that too long. Yeah, so going back onto Houston. So we split last season, the series 1-1. We had that memorable blowout on the road last year, just before the hiatus, when the Houston announcers basically called us a mediocre team. And yeah, they deserved everything they got last year, so they're going to get more of it on Friday.
Cool.
The interesting thing about this game, this upcoming Friday game. So this is behind the scenes information. So when coaches, and this usually goes for like almost every team. So you have your head coach and your assistant coaches, and your assistant coaches do your scouts for your game. So usually the head assistant coach that you see interview for us at halftime is usually the one that's their game to scout. So last season when we played Houston, our coach that scouted that game actually now works for Houston.
Okay.
Right.
So that will be really interesting to now see, like, us going up against Houston, keeping almost a lot of the same roster that we had when we played them last year.
Yeah.
But now the coach that scouted that game will be the coach for the Rockets.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting.
Yeah. A little behind the scenes for you. But yeah, the Rockets have actually they've been really interesting to watch given everything that's going on, because that game that they played in Portland was a good game. I don't know if you guys like followed any of it, but they like went into overtime with the Trailblazers and like just like narrowly lost because James Harden like essentially just like missed a shot in the paint. And
yeah,
like,
I did see it.
It was a crazy game considering the fact that they really only had like 8 players to work with.
Yeah.
For that one.
Anything that they are achieving at the moment with the number of players they have is quite phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have like John Wall now coming off the bench. They have Boogie Cousins coming off the bench. Like they have a good second unit now. But one thing that's really also, because I've like obviously have started like my prep for like those games coming up, is that the Rockets, so in first half points, they're 3rd in the league, but in second half points, they're 28th.
Wow.
So there's a huge discrepancy between like how well they do in the first half compared to how well they do in the second half. And I don't know if they're not making the right like second half adjustments or like what's so much going into that. Obviously they have James Harden, who's leading the league in points per game. And again, who knows if he'll actually be there on Friday, given everything that we hear day in and day out. But I just thought that was like a really interesting stat considering that they're good in the first half and not so great in the second.
That's cool. We'll keep an eye on that one then. So we got a back-to-back then after the Houston game. We play the Dallas Mavericks. We're currently 3-4. They're coming off, as Mikey mentioned, a game against the Rockets where they won 113-100. They've been a little bit indifferent last couple of games. Lost to Chicago. That was without Luka Doncic, 118-108. They beat Miami 93-83. And then they lost to Charlotte, 118-99. So it remains to be seen what team turns up. Porzingis isn't playing. Remains to be seen if Luka plays. I expect he will. Our dear friend Wes Iwundu is playing spot minutes for the Mavericks. And they go with the starting lineup of Doncic, Josh Richardson, Willie Cauley-Stein, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Maxi Kleber, who had quite a game against us last year, I believe. So that brings us on to predictions for these 3 games. So I'm going to go to Mackenzie first. What are you saying, Mackenzie?
I'm going to say 2-1 us. And the only reason why I say that is because the games against the Rockets, I think we take Cleveland tomorrow, but it's the Mavs Rockets game. I think we can get one because the Mavs are playing small right now with their starting 5, and that gives us the advantage with Vooch. And also Finney-Smith and Powell are the highest individual are giving like 2 of the like highest individual opponent field goal percentages in the restricted area, which we can like use to our advantage. So I think we can take one of those in Texas. So 2-1.
Awesome. Cool. Mikey?
I'm going to go 3-0 again.
I like it.
I'm going
like
3-0 again.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually was thinking 2-1, thinking we were going to, same as Mackenzie. I think we're going to beat Cleveland. And I do fancy us against Houston. But now you just said about how they're playing small. Mackenzie just swung it for me, so I'm going 3-0.
You're welcome. If we now go 3-0, I want that credit.
You get it.
Paul?
I'll go 2-1 to us. I'm not going the other way. I'm not predicting a losing trip.
No, I'll also stick with 2-1. That was my prediction. And again, like what you said, take one of the games in Texas. Either or will do. So that will bring us on to then the gauntlet of next week with Milwaukee, Boston twice, and Brooklyn, I believe. So, yeah, okay, we'll see how that pans out. We just got one mailbag question. This is from Barry Con on Facebook. So I'll put this out to you all. How do we get Bamba some minutes to see what he can do? And how does Ennis fit into the rotation? Let's go to Mackenzie first.
Ooh. The thing with Mo, one, he needs to get healthy to start getting minutes. I think that's like first and foremost, like obvious answer. The thing with Mo is that you are now trying to find minutes within Vooch and Kem. And obviously Vooch being who he is, like you're not going to take minutes away from him because he offers so much to our team. And I think Kem has been so strong for us, especially on the board with rebounding. He obviously can't hit the perimeter shots the same way Vooch can, but I think looking at his performance last night against Andre Drummond, he can hold his own and is so important to us in that second unit defensively. I think Mo will start to see minutes soon now that he's like working his way back. But I think I'm very much, if it's not broke, don't fix it type person personally. And I know there's a huge importance and emphasis on getting player minutes to get them better. But if you're winning with what you have, I'm weird about shaking it up if it's working. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to like, unfortunately, like garbage time minutes, or unless you start seeing injuries, which I don't want to see injuries. I'll take garbage time minutes if we're winning and you're just like, go for it. So that's my 2 cents on that one as it pertains to Mo.
Boys, anything to add?
Right, look, Coach Clifford has said that 5-on-5 practice with the schedule the way it is proving very, very difficult. That makes it very, very difficult to get Mo meaningful minutes in practice. It makes it even more difficult for James Ennis as well. Mo got 5 minutes last night, roughly, when he came on. Mackenzie's absolutely right. We need some blowout wins so we can get Mo back in and get him fit again. He clearly has something to offer the team. I know we've said before, I'm not convinced yet. I'm not convinced by any stretch of the imagination. But having looked at, his ability at the rim, particularly on blocking the offense, we have something that we can benefit from with Mo. So it's important to try and get him minutes. But honestly, I don't know how we do it without changing what is at this moment a winning lineup, and I don't like doing that.
I think Ennis is probably going to be the one of the two that's more likely to squeeze into the rotation earlier than Mo at the moment. Yeah, like Mackenzie said earlier, I don't think it's worth shaking it up at the moment. It's not worth it. It's tough for Mo because, like I said, there's no practice time basically for him. There's very little of it. And he's really, instead of trying to compete for Vooch for that starting spot, which is what he was brought in for, he's now got to try and oust Ken Birch now, isn't he? Try and get him out of that position. I think it'll be situational when we need a little bit more shot blocking on the floor. Mo might see a few minutes here and there, and I think he might split time. But he's just going to get, I think he'll be brought along very slowly. There's no rush for him, is there, whilst we're winning games? So keep it as it is.
He's almost hoping that somebody gets injured so as he can come back and get minutes. And I don't mean that in any way against Mo, that he's sitting there thinking, come on, Vooch, get injured. He's not, that's not at all what he, but in sports, it is a true fact that somebody's injury, somebody's misfortune is somebody else's gain. And that's where Mo's going to end up fitting back in easily if somebody goes down with a slight injury.
Don't say the I word, Paul.
Oh, you know I like so close to the win, pal.
Cool.
Well, there's also the debate. Would you rather be the player that's playing risking injury, or would you rather be the player who's sitting on the bench just stacking money and not getting injured?
You've got to play, haven't you?
You want to be playing.
Yeah. You want to be out there.
I mean, there are some players who do pretty well for themselves sitting there in a suit. I'm just saying, not going to name names, but there are players who do such things.
Cool. So, Magic trivia time. Part of the show that everybody looks forward to. Well, just me. Right. So, in homage to Mackenzie, who's worked for Orlando City and the Orlando Magic, got some, two short questions relating to both teams. Okay. So, listen carefully.
Oh,
From
no.
No, it's all good. It's all good. From the current Magic season, against the 2020 Orlando City team, so last year's playoff team, which team has numerically the highest player number on their jersey? So you got to think who's got the highest jersey number on the Magic, and then you got to think about Orlando City. Now, I think the boys are going to struggle with this because.
So is this like, do we all work this out together, or are we like all individually answering?
Whichever you like.
We're collective. We're doing a collective.
Do I know? Okay, so Cole obviously is 50.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like there's probably one player who's just got a ridiculous number that plays for City.
I know, I'm just not up to date on all of their jersey numbers.
Like 89 or something silly like that.
Let's go City.
Going City?
That's my stab. I'm going City because.
All right, before we answer it,
I'm actually going to go Magic.
Yeah?
Because why not?
What are you doing individually now then, or what?
I don't know. I was like working it out collectively. I decided to go Magic.
Now, shut off on my own.
I'll give you a clue. So Anthony's the highest Magic player, as you all know. So you just got to, is there a higher or lower? It's a bit like play your cards right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Higher. I'm going City.
Yeah, I'm going higher as well. Do we get an extra point if we guess the number right?
If you want to, yeah.
You got to tell us if we're right firstly.
Okay, so Mackenzie's going Magic and the boys are going City. Okay, the answer is City. There's a player called Matthias Ayas.
What's his number?
99.
Oh, no!
Yeah, so City have got the higher jersey number. But other than that, Cole Anthony, if you combine all teams together, he would be second. Right, one more. Again, Magic against City. So 2020, Orlando City's MLS regular season against the last completed Magic season, so 2019-20, which team had the longest unbeaten streak? Now, bear in mind that ties or draws count as an unbeaten game in terms of City. And also bear in mind that Orlando City played a total of 29 games and the Magic played a total of 78 regular season games and playoffs.
Does this count the tournament that they played in?
No, this is just MLS regular season. So who's got the longest unbeaten run is the question.
Because I was going to say, I know they did good when they were all in the bubble during the summer because they went to the finals. but I don't know if that counts during regular season play. I don't think it does.
I think it did.
I'm going to guess City again.
I'm going against Mikey. I'm going Magic for the because of that run-in that we had at the end of the season.
Okay.
I know that's the only thing that's throwing me for a loop is the back end of our season. I'm like, ooh, we were really good after All-Star break.
Are we talking the 1920 season, G? Is that what you're saying?
For the Magic.
Is it the 18-1, G, that the playoffs we went to?
No, it was last season. Last season's regular season.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I'm going to go City. There we go.
So with the season that finished with the bubble for us, for the Magic.
Correct. Yes.
I misunderstood which season then. I'm changing my mind then. I'm going City. I misunderstood the season, mate.
That's all good.
Because we only won the last 3 games, if I remember rightly, before the hiatus, didn't we?
All will be revealed, Mikey. Just need Mackenzie's answer.
I'm going to go City again. Or no, City. So it's 1-1. So Magic first.
Yeah, no, the correct answer was City with a 12-game unbeaten streak between August the 26th, winning 6 and drawing 6 before they lost to Inter Miami on October 24th. Orlando's season-high winning streak was 5 games, and it spanned the end of the season into the early bubble, beating the Wolves, Rockets, Grizzlies, Nets, and Kings. So the City was the answer.
There you go.
So
see, the
give
draw
yourself...
is what throws you off.
Right. So that brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, Mackenzie, for spending time with us. It's been very insightful. Hope you've enjoyed.
Yeah, I had a blast. Thank you guys again for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
And I hope you guys can come back to Orlando soon.
Yeah, we're hoping that too. We all had trips cancelled literally 3 days before we were supposed to come out last season. So, yeah, we're hoping for it as well.
Oh, no. Yeah, hopefully 2021, back at the Amway Center.
Absolutely. Cool. So until next week, thank you and go Magic.
Go Magic.